like almost looking out the side window. We can be like looking out the side window here. Right, so this is the main event. The Focus RS. Oh, 257 kilowatts of sublime turn-in. Oh my goodness.
Have a look at this.
Understeer, what understeer? And as we've already experienced, this is very dirty and slippery. Let's see what happens here again. Last time we got, not even a, it's just flat and level and unbelievably quick. I'll have some of this, thank you very much. And into third as we go on to the big turn. I'm scared. Can I go quicker?
You can, a little bit more. I'll change it into racetrack now as well. Feel the suspension tighten up, parameter slightly, a little bit more freedom.
This is unbelievable.
Keep it going, keep it going. Onto the right, hard on the brakes. Hard on the brakes. Turn it in. That's good.
Whoa, hello cones. But that's ridiculous. If you're wondering, is the price difference between a normal ST and an RS, if you're one of those doubters, don't be a doubter. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculously good. It begs you to be driven. This is not a car for the road. This is a car for a racetrack. If you buy one of these and don't take it on the racetrack, there's something wrong with you and you don't deserve to have it. This car is a track day dream. I mean, I'm chucking it into corners, being a bit of a hooligan. Look at that, I'm just being an absolute animal. And this car wants more. It just wants you to give it more. Oh, what a machine.
Ease off.
And we'll ease it off. So we don't want to crash too much.
Don't crash.
Time to see what we can do when we drift a Focus RS. There we go. It's all about some extra power. Oh, we're now like almost looking out the side window. We can be like looking out the side window here. There we go, there we go, there we go, there we go. Don't hit that outside cone. I think I ran over one cone just for fun. Sure, that car is rather good fun. Rather good fun. And it is drifting for dummies. This car really is drifting for dummies. Everyone said it. I'm not a drifting pro, but that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So it's a day later, and I've now had a bit of time to think about the Ford Focus RS, and particularly my impressions, my first impressions from behind the wheel. As I'm sure you're aware, on a day like this, everything happens so quickly, it's difficult to compute and really digest everything. So I thought it would be a good idea to take some time and really go through things with you after the fact. Let's start with what the car's like on the road. Well, I wasn't hugely taken with the car on the road. The reason is the Ford Focus RS has such a clever setup that when you're driving around at normal town speeds, pootling around, you're not even coming close to what the car can do. Only once you're on the power in a big way, and only once you're really pushing the limits of the car, does the four-wheel drive system kick in and start moving power around the vehicle. So of course 70% of the power can be pushed to the back of the car, and 100% of that 70% can be pushed either to the left or the right wheel. This is great. It's brilliant. When you're on a skid pan, when you're on a track, the car comes alive and it is unbelievably good to drive. It is such a brilliant machine and I loved every second of it. However, on the road, it feels pretty much like a normal ST to drive. Yes, it has more power, but you can't really use that practically in a legal way and manner on the road. So it can be regarded as somewhat of a disappointment on the road because it's not as special as I thought it would be. The price of the car, another contentious issue. 700,000 Rand is an awful lot of money. And if you have 700,000 Rand, should you really spend it on a Ford? A car that for many people is regarded as a layman's car, an everyday car. Like everyone should be able to buy a Ford. And here's one that pretty much most of us won't be able to. That being said though, the Ford Focus RS falls into a interesting category. So we now have almost this super hot hatch category where these cars are almost producing supercar performance from a hatchback. The Ford Focus RS, the Mercedes A45 AMG, the Audi RS3 and the Honda Civic Type R, they can all be regarded in this category and they all have pretty crazy price tags to boot. Now, the Ford is 700,000 Rand, but you get pretty much every option that you could want for your 700,000 Rand. Yes, you can spec things like a sunroof and so forth, but the equivalent spec Ford Focus RS is 150,000 Rand less than an exact spec to spec of a A45 AMG or the RS3. Now, for many, that's going to be a huge selling point. Of course, you are still sitting in a Ford, and it feels very much like an ST, even from inside the cabin. In fact, only things like blue stitching around the steering wheel, an RS badge here and there, and the fact that you can only get it in a manual, really, makes it feel something different to an ST. Is that a bad thing? Not in my opinion, and here's why. I think the Ford Focus RS, and any car like this really, should be about the driving experience more than it is about the gadgets and gizmos you get on it. All the money and all the tech should be underneath the hood. And in the Ford Focus RS, it most certainly is. You take it on the track and you'll have seen that I go absolutely ballistic for the car. So I drove the Fiesta ST followed by the Focus ST around the same track. Well, actually it was a handling course, but still. And then I jumped in the RS, and what a difference it made. It may look like an ST, but when you're pushing the car to the limit, it is anything other than an ST. It is unbelievably good. It is balanced to perfection. And then if you decide to take her over the limit and go into drift mode and take her on, say, a skid pan or something like that, what an absolute pleasure. This car is probably the easiest car I've ever drifted in my whole life. Virtually anyone can drift this car. I know this is not a revelation, everyone else has said that, but it's because it's true. So, overall, the Ford Focus RS, looking like a pretty good option. Sure, there are only 300 coming to South Africa. It's not a limited edition car, but we have to fight with everyone else for production numbers. So, only 300 coming. Will you be lucky enough to get your name on the list? Well, I hope you do. This car is more than worth the money, and quite frankly, if you don't take it on a track and you buy one, I don't think you deserve to own one.